We are going back in the 3D 4DX world, and this time, Inside Out. Chase Liaki here at the Blue Futon reviewing Inside Out 2. What's about? Pretty simple premise. Riley has hit puberty, and we have new emotions: anxiety, embarrassment, boredom, and envy. And now they're going to bottle up the other emotions and throw them away. Okay, so let's talk about the 3D 4DX first. So when watching the first one in 3D a couple days ago, I will say the 3D for this one is better. And the reason I think it is better overall, because it's more action and more movement of the camera. I know movement of the camera, not really for animated features, but you know what I mean. There's more of a tornado scene. There's a couple of scenes of them on a waterfall or a river, and just the hockey scenes. So there's more going on in this movie to make the 3D more popping, especially with the hockey puck, anxiety's hair, stuff coming out of the tornado, which is the light bulbs. So yes, there are things like that where I think the 3D is better for the second one through and through. I did talk to someone, they thought the 3D sucked. Interesting. I do think that it was more depth, just like the first one. A couple pop outs, but when comparing them just by apples and apples, this one is better. Also better than Garfield. And Notice is better than Garfield, the 4DX. How Garfield, the movie, and 4DX is more of like a kid's, like, I'm trying to think like that thing at Universal where you go over Dr. Seuss land, and it's like that big roller coaster on the top, and there's like, wee. To me, that was Garfield. This one was more of the step up for like the preteens, where it was like the tornado scene, some hockey scenes, some things at the end where you're just like, okay, that's some good 4DX experience, some water going here and there, bubbles. So it was interesting too. Usually the bubbles that happen in 4DX are more of like the foam bubbles, like Dawn soap bubbles. But this one, they decided to do the bigger bubbles, and it really was kind of fun. And you could tell some of the people, this was their first 4DX time as well, so when the bubbles came or the smoke came, they were having like a good reaction to it. But talk about the movie itself, I think it's a downgrade in almost every way, with story, with what was going on the screen, just with something emotional wise, it didn't work as well. Not saying it's a bad movie, but there are things about it where I noticed and I said, okay, and I'm going to talk about at the very end. Let's talk about the movie itself. Voice acting is still fine through and throughout. Animation, still fine through and throughout. You can't really say, oh yeah, Pixar's a shitty animated movie. That's not true. Emotional wise, the first one, you felt the emotion of her wanting to run away. You felt the whole joy just disappearing from her life, and sadness needed to occur. This one was just more of like, the Three Stooges-esque, and I know that sounds horrible, but it was more of like the anxiety doing the weird stuff and embarrassment doing the weird stuff, and it just didn't connect as well as I think it should. And, how they have him in the foreground this time, and they've purposely put him in the background of like the father and mother character, which makes me interested, because are you not anxious as an adult anymore, so it's always behind the curtain? I disagree with that. Embarrassment, envy, I feel like envy is even more when you're an adult in today's day and age, or even when you're preteens. So I don't know, it's very interesting of what emotions they decided to put in here and try to forcefully put them in the adult characters when showing the adults going through their thing. So I found that interesting. I don't know, like I said, the emotional aspect was there. I think the weakest, when I talked about this out of the theater reaction, is the score. The score for the first one was nice piano melodies. It was just like, I want to say it's in your face, but it was so predominant of like pushing the story forward that after watching Inside Out, I was like, I love that score. That score is absolutely amazing. Here they try to bump it up a little bit. Like, I mostly heard it in the credits. And I was like, oh, there's the score. That's what I was looking for. I don't know, maybe because the first one wasn't more action set oriented, and this one was, the score is a little bit more like fast paced and upbeat. But I was missing out on the score. And like I said, when the credits rolled, I was like, oh, that's the score that I missed the most from the first one. So that is, to me, the biggest fault is the score, because like I said, you can't fault the voice animation or voice acting, the animation, the story, even though the story is a step down from emotional aspects from what is actually occurring with these characters. Yeah, there's a good anxious scene where you're having a panic attack, and I thought I was going to go to like the umpteenth degree, but it kind of slows down. But at a point, you're like, can you get mad at Riley, though? Because before going to camp, she's told something kind of big. So why would she kind of be normal throughout this camp? It's just like, friends throwing something on her and be like, oh, I guess it'll be normal, right? So I can't really fault that for that. All right. This is something I said in the out of the reaction as well as, a 15-second. Google women's hockey team, Olympics hockey team. I know we're not in the Olympics. I know we're in hockey camp. But I think I'm tired of this DEI bull crap now. I truly am. At a point, we want to be inclusive, but we're forgetting what the real world looks like, and that's diverting everything. I know you're thinking, I know this is a cartoon, blah, blah, blah. But then, like, when Moana 2 comes out, we're the white people. Oh, because you're on that island. Bet. However, when you look at hockey, I've never seen a Muslim player play hockey, okay? This was some of the most... It's basically me making a cricket movie, right? And having 75% of them be white. That's not going to happen, fam. Cricket is so much of an Indian, Pakistan, that part of the world sport. Hockey is the Russia, the north part of America, the white part. It's okay. And I think that's what that's what's really bothering me. It is okay to say that. It is okay to say, you know what? There are a couple black people in hockey. Cool. But you don't have to have the spectrum of the rainbow. Not like, I'm not saying gay, but like shades of people's color. It's okay. I went to a Pittsburgh Penguins game. There was one black guy on the team. Cool. No one cared because they're part of a team. Or if I'm going to watch basketball, okay, you know what? 80% of them are going to be black. All right. Fair enough. And we need to just get rid of that stigma of like, oh my God, it's all white people. It's all black people. It's all Middle Eastern people. It's all Indian people on the team. But then when it's vice versa, they don't care. So at a point, I understand that you want to do this DEI inclusive initiative. But if you're trying to say, like, what is the world really like, you can't change history and you can't change facts. Does it have to do with the movie? Absolutely. Because, like I said, when there is a girl wearing a head scarf playing hockey, okay. Overall, Inside Out 2, 3D, 4DX. 3D, I thought was better than the first one. 4DX better than Garfield, and that's comparing it to an animated film. But I think the movie itself, watching them kind of back to back, it's not the same movie whatsoever. The emotion isn't there. The score really isn't there. And it did feel like a kind of a rehash, which is fine. But there are also elements where it's like, the core of a human being. And I do like that element, but it just, something wasn't clicking in my opinion. So Inside Out 2 will receive a 3.5 out of 5 Futons, which equals that 70%. So let's see what the critics' news scores gave this one. Critics, 92% with a 202. Audience score, 96% with over 500. I think that's almost reverse from the first one. Critic consensus, spacing things up with the wrinkle of teenage angst. Inside Out 2 clears the head and warms the heart by living up with its predecessor's emotional intelligence. Like I said, at least the first one, I felt like, oh God, don't get rid of those memories. That is just heartbreaking. And of course, this one is more like put in the back of your brain where it could come back to you. So that's why I think the emotional aspect didn't work for that. But anyway, 70, 92, 96. Chase Lock here with the Blue Futon. Like, comment, subscribe. One of things Futontopia. You Blue Futon, say watch a great day. I can watch stay tomorrow, week from now, month, or year from every single freaking one of you. Peace and love, peace and love. Enjoy life, and just be a good person. Yes, you might have anxiety, embarrassment, and you could do bad shit in life. I've made plenty of mistakes. Still make mistakes every single day. Like these movies. Oh, I sometimes think, why do I buy some of these movies?